Hello, mentors. This is an overview of meeting two, More Symmetry, which will happen on January 19th. Let's go through the agenda real quick. So you arrive at 2, and then remember you just go to your small room to just prepare last details. And at 2:15 this time, students will arrive, and you'll start working on the math. So you'll do creating symmetry, which is the big activity. Then at 2:55, you start closing the meeting. So you spend 5 minutes closing the meeting. And then at 3 p.m., kids leave. After that, we will do a mentor reflection until 3:30, which is the end of the meeting. This meeting, again, will be online. So let's look a little bit about the purpose of the meeting. So we continue with symmetry. In meeting one, we did more like linear symmetry. We just did chains or sequences of symbols and, did some counting and some other problems. And this meeting is more about 2D, two-dimensional shapes. We do reflection symmetry, which is the line of symmetry, mirror symmetry. So that's, a symmetry many people know. But then we also explore two symmetries that are not as known, which are rotational and radial symmetry. Students are gonna produce a lot of things, so many different shapes using their creativity, and they'll be talking about the symmetry. So it's really, really important that you share the links and that you encourage kids to be creative, and then you talk about the creations, they also talk about them. So that's gonna be the guiding tool for this meeting. So we'll practice during this meeting 3.1 in our framework, which is this principle about working in balance with co-mentors. So that's our focus. And when you do the pair deck, you'll see there's a lot of questions involving this. How do you work in balance? Now, you already have some experience for meeting one, things that went well and things that didn't go so well. The purpose is that you meet in Slack or in Zoom with your co-mentors, and then devise a plan to improve in this meeting. For time management, well, time flies, of course, but this is a suggestion on what you could do. You could do logos in 20 minutes, and if it gets really interesting or if the kids are having a little trouble, you can extend it to 25 minutes. No more than that, otherwise you won't be able to finish. And then for azulejos, which is the second part, you'll expend 15 minutes probably or so. Nevertheless, don't go past 2:57, which is the limit for closure. So you should have at least 3 minutes, hopefully 5, to close the meeting. And then let's talk a little bit about what the activities are. So let's just jump to part one. Again, you want to start not just with the math, but maybe some prompts like, I think we have a few new students, or, oh no, Gabriela is not here. Do you know if she's coming back? Introduce new mentors, maybe. Also, remembering things like Leonardo, you mentioned that you were going to watch this movie. So how was it? Things you learn. In my education class, I learned blah, blah, blah. Or in my math class last week, I learned this and I want to share with you. These things should be very quick. So they should take 3 to 5 minutes or so. It's not about the time. It's more about, the energy and that you show that you're still building personal connections with the mentors and with the students. After that, well, we do the symmetry in logos, and there's a video for that explains this in details. And after the symmetry in logos, you move to this My Nonprofit logo, which you will use Google Sheets to create some logo, and it's going to be really interesting. You can also teach some Google Sheets skills there. And then you move to Azulejos, which is part two. It gets a little more cultural, so not as, these brands, these logos in the brands were okay, but they were not so cultural or antique. These you have the chance to go to Portugal or go to, Middle East and just really explore the cultural side of these stylings hundreds of years ago and just show some pictures. And finally, you just will use this software, really cool, to create some nice styling. So we'll be exploring that in a different video, but it's really cool. Let's talk a little bit about the closure. So what can you expect during the closure? And then let's go back to this agenda. So just to wrap things up a little bit. So for the closure, remember you have 3 to 5 minutes. And there are two main purposes. First, close on the math. So ask the students what they learned, what they didn't learn, maybe summarize some misconceptions that they had about symmetries or summarize the types of symmetry. You really want to close it in the math. So just have some bullet points there, some very concrete ideas at the end, hopefully coming from students. And then after you do that, it's all about personal things like looking forward to meeting you this week, or asking questions about what they're gonna do today or during the weekend, or blah blah blah, whatever you feel like. It's good to prepare questions again. That way you really won't forget them. And it's also good that you naturally, they'll come out also, right? Some questions naturally arise from your conversations with kids, but make it purposefully. Just make the intention that really have that time to close the meeting. It's supposed to be sacred, and kids, they should be aware that you are actually doing that, because you don't want to be rushed. Like, okay, you didn't even finish the activity or so. So you really want to follow those habits. We really recommend these alarms that mentors should have. Those are really powerful. Hope you enjoyed the meeting.